William Shakespeare once asked a really important question: what's in a name? And if you are Black in America, you already know that so much goes into a name. From like way before you're even thinking about having children, you've probably thought about what you would name your child. And in doing so, there's this delicate balancing act between being able to name your child something that is culturally relevant, or maybe just something that you like, with also being able to make sure that they're able to get a job, which is absolutely ridiculous. Today we're going to be talking about the cost of having a Black name in America, and I'm going to be referencing this book by Sean Rochester called The Black Tax: The Cost of Being Black in America. Now in this book, it talks about the fact that when we talk about racism, we're not just saying that racism is mean and we don't like it. There is a very insidious nature to racism in that there is an economic impact that I think we often ignore. We act like, racism is about feelings and emotion, when there are economic consequences to oppression, systematic oppression that is ongoing. And I think that this is very important to talk about, because a lot of the communities that I'm in, we promote radical responsibility. And I love that shit. I want you to be responsible and accountable to your individual success. I don't want you to let anything get in the way of the future that you want to create for yourself, period. However, we also have to talk about the fact that even though we might be able to dodge and duck and weave racism, we shouldn't have to. It should not be the water that we swim in. We should not have to be 10 times as good to have equal access to opportunities that other people just have naturally as a result of being. We deserve that as well. And so if we're talking about accountability, we also have to be talking about what other people are responsible for. Our lawmakers, our policymakers, our elected officials, what is their responsibility to our rights and our future? All of that should be included in the same conversation. So while I'm not here to absolve anybody of accountability or responsibility, I want to look at what that looks like across the board, because we have these conversations about what Black people aren't doing. They don't have enough jobs, they aren't putting forth enough efforts, they're this and they're that, but we are not also looking at, well, maybe they are. But when we talk about the fact that it is due to a system that has oppressed us systematically and ongoingly, all of a sudden it's like, well, no, you need to work harder. Oh no, that's in the past. Well, it's not in the past, and working harder is not going to eliminate the issue. Having positive thoughts is not going to eliminate the issue. So in this video, the purpose of it is to continue to spread awareness that racism has consequences that cannot be outrun by positive thinking, can't be outrun by education or trying harder, and to give you strategies that you can use and that we can use as a community to give ourselves a better chance. This is personal to me. My name is Latasha, and my sister's names are Tanisha, Shaniqua. My brother's name is Trevion, and it matters to me that they're able to be confident and free in their names. Our names are one of our first markers of identity that signifies who we are as people. And I talked to my sister the other day, and she told me that she hates her name, Shaniqua. I want people to be able to stand in the power of who they are. And a lot of times I think that starts with being confident that your name is not a detriment to you. Your name isn't something that's going to hold you back from possibilities or opportunities, and it shouldn't be. So in this video today, we're going to talk about the cost of having a Black name in America, and we're going to look at it through the lens of real estate, the job search, and online commerce. And at the end, I'm going to talk about some solutions that we could employ as individuals and as a community to give ourselves the best shot. So let's just jump right in. All right, beautiful people. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tasha. I am the CEO and Chief Coach at Goddess Day, where I help women and all working professionals take control of their financial future so that they can create the life that they want for themselves. And looking at the Black tax, the first Black tax that I want to look at is the real estate tax. And if you live in America, you already know real estate is one of the first stops to the American dream. And I personally think that in many ways, not in all ways, but in many ways, the American dream can be damaging because it was never meant for Black people. And it's something that for some reason we want to take on this dream instead of creating a reality that we can live and thrive in. But a lot of times that dream turns into a nightmare. But whatever, that's just my opinion. Owning a home is absolutely a good idea sometimes. And for those times, you want to know that you have access to fair mortgage rates. So let's see what that looks like. The research shows that applications that have a Black sounding name are less likely to get a favorable response from mortgage lenders. They're less likely to get a response at all. When they do get a response, it's less likely to be a favorable response. And when they do get a favorable response, they're less likely to get a fair interest rate. They usually get higher interest rates than people with similar backgrounds and similar credentials. And one of the things that really blew me away was that in the real estate process of, applying for a mortgage and, getting one, having a Black sounding name impacted you to the point where it was almost like your credit score was basically 71% or 71 points lower than what it is. And I think that is absolutely crazy, because I know for a fact there are communities all across social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, dedicated to helping Black people improve their credit scores for this very reason, so that they can get a home. And if you ain't got the right name, it might not even matter. How crazy is that? These are things that translate into money. All right, so let's look at number 2. Let's look at the Black tax in the job search. Now, I know that this stuff probably isn't new to you. You've heard this stuff before, but I don't want this to be something that you heard about on Twitter or on Instagram somewhere. I want it to be something that you know that there is hard facts and evidence to support, and we need to talk about it. We want to normalize Black people not having to fight for what is naturally ours, and we have to speak up, and we have to create that space for ourselves, give it to ourselves and demand it from every space that we engage and interact with. So let's look at the Black tax as it relates to the job search. So the University of Chicago did a study where they asked this question: are Emily and Brandon more employable than Lakeisha and Jamal by name alone? And guess what the answer was? Abso-freaking-lutely, yes, they were. So what they found was that applications or resumes that had a white sounding name were 50% more likely to get a callback, just from name alone. Everything else on the application was equal. And this study was done at the University of Chicago. And the thing that I thought was crazy was that in order for a Black resume to be treated like a white resume, it needed 8 years of additional experience. Do you know how much time, how much money it takes to get that 8 years of additional experience? It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to think about a Black person needs 8 years of additional education or experience, I can't remember which one of those, to be on the same playing field as a white person. What that also means is that being white in the job search is just like having 8 additional years of education or experience, whichever one it was. What? Just from having a white sounding name get treated like that? It's crazy. And so imagine telling somebody that they need to work harder in the job search. They need to submit their application more. They need to be more proactive. And it's we can't only address that, because we don't want to create the standard and the condition to be that Black people have to work harder, because it is literally killing us. It is stressing us out, and we deserve better. We deserve to be able to have equal access to opportunities. And like I said, nobody is going to come hand it to us on a silver platter. It's something that we have to create for ourselves and demand from the spaces that we are engaging in. Now, the third Black tax is in online commerce. And I thought that this was interesting because online commerce is expanding, and it's only going to amplify as it expands. This issue is only going to be amplified as online commerce continues to expand. So you might be wondering, how the heck can somebody be racist? It's online. What the heck? Well, when there's a will, there's a way. And first, let's enter Airbnb, because this was the first study that I think it was done at Harvard University, and they were looking at the impact of race in online commerce, and they used Airbnb. And what they found was that profiles that have Black sounding names or Black skin, a combination of those things, they were able to get an average rate of $107, while non-white people / non-white names were able to get an average rate of $144. That's a differential of about 35%. So imagine that compounded over months and years. There is an economic impact. This is not about being nice to us. This is about not giving us, This is about our inalienable right to pursue life, liberty, wealth, and happiness. So you might think, all right, we know black people are, or we know white people are racist, and we know that they probably don't want to be in our houses. This is not shocking to anyone. Well, it doesn't stop there. The black tax continues even when the interaction is purely transactional. So researchers looked at how are people bidding on things based on race, and they looked at baseball cards, and what they found was that baseball cards that had an indication of blackness, like a hand in the frame that was darker, were offered 20% less on a first bid than their white counterparts. So I think that this is important, because how is race impacting your business? How is it impacting your ability to sell online, like on Etsy or Shopify? And with a lot of people making money via social media, where you can see our profiles, our names, our race, how does that impact us there? So, a lot of times I think that we want to assert our right to create our own spaces. Like, you can't always be asking somebody for a seat at their table. At some point, you got to make your own damn table. And so when I look at what solutions will serve us as a community, there are 3 that come to mind for me. Number 1 is to speak up about whatever you see and ask questions that support your own best interest. So for example, if you're getting a mortgage from a company, a mortgage lending company, one of the questions that you can ask, you could say something like, hey, I know that historically lenders have given black people interest rates that are not in line with their counterparts. Can you confirm for me that this is the best interest rate that you can give me? Just address it head on. You don't got to beat around the bush. You don't have to try to make somebody else feel good. Just address it head on. One of the things that Sean talks about in his book is this idea of implicit racial bias. Sometimes people are being racist and acting in racist ways without even knowing it, because it really is just the water that we swim in. Racism is deeply woven into the fabric of America itself. And so asking these questions could allow somebody to really check themselves with something that was running in the background, but now when you bring it to the forefront, now they can see it and act accordingly. So it's in your best interest, and it's also in their best interest. The second thing I think that we could do is just create our own. And this is not on some separationist or segregationist stuff. I love all people. This is really just to create spaces where we have a shot at thriving. The research is clear and compelling. Black people with black sounding names especially have less access to opportunity based on name alone. And if we don't want to have to care about whether people like our names or not, then we got to create spaces where that is the standard. It's not othered, it's not weird, it's the standard, And so we want to create black businesses. We want to support black businesses and employ black people. Now, this is not just for black people. If you are white, you can do your part by, helping to level the playing field, knowing that the research says this, making sure that you're giving everybody fair and equal opportunities. And if you're really about that life, tipping the scales a bit, because you know that the scales are tipped in the other direction in society at large. So making sure that you are employing black businesses, employing black people and supporting black businesses. And then finally, building community and relationships, right? I don't really know what the research says about how racism is expressed inside of relationships, but hopefully having relationships and having a plug is always going to be better than not having relationships and not having a plug. Now, I have wrote an article where I give a lot more detail in terms of what I think we need to do in order to support our own communities, create our own communities, and to create a space where Blackness isn't othered and Black names aren't othered, and it really is just the standard, where racism doesn't have to be the water that we swim in, where we don't have to be 10 times better in order to get the same access to opportunities that everybody else gets naturally just by being, right? I talk about that in the article, so if something that you're interested in, definitely check that out. But I really hope that this video has been helpful in just giving you some examples of how there is a Black tax and how being Black in America has financial consequences and repercussions, and that this isn't something that we can be accountable for alone, right? Accountability isn't going to stop me from having a Black sounding name. It isn't going to stop somebody from being racist towards me. Having an education isn't going to stop systematic oppression, right? It's not about accountability or education or having a positive mindset. It's about racism, and that's what we need to address head on. And I think addressing it is a beautiful thing, like being able to stand up for yourself and assert, even though I love personal accountability, and I will never take away your individual responsibility to create what you want for yourself. When you really love yourself and you know what you're worth, you demand to be treated the way that you know that you deserve to be treated. And that's really what this is. So thank you guys so much. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you are empowered. I hope that you know how beautiful and incredible you are. I hope that you know that no matter what your name is, whether it's Shaniqua or Tanisha or Trevion or Trayvon or Dominique or whatever, that you deserve equal opportunities, and your name is wonderful. Your name isn't hard to pronounce. Your name feels good in the tongues of and on the tongues of so many people, regardless of what everybody else may say, regardless of what other people may try to make you feel. Don't allow yourself to be diminished by what other people might think about you. Don't diminish the value of your name and how it connects to your identity because of what other people might think. Don't try to erase your Blackness by giving your children ambiguous names so that they can have better opportunities. If you choose to do that, I understand why, but you don't have to do that, because who you are and your name and its connection to you and all the cultural things associated with it, it's wonderful. I don't care what your name is. I don't care what it is. I don't care how many people try to make you think it's ghetto. It's wonderful and it's beautiful, and I honor you and I salute you, and I'm just here for your freedom to be and your freedom to not have to fight for your humanity, that you're already worthy and you're already deserving and you're already wonderful. Thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.